Why are some people building empires of multiple Airbnb properties while you're still stuck trying to figure out your first one? If you've been overthinking, second guessing deals, and feeling like you're missing the window on Airbnb, you're not alone. But here's the difference. Today's guests were in that exact position, and now they own 5 Airbnb properties. In this episode, you'll learn exactly how they got started, what they did differently, and how you can shortcut the learning curve to build your own income-producing Airbnb portfolio. So if you're serious about turning Airbnb into a path to financial freedom, let's jump in. Particularly for our listeners who are sitting in their car or on their couch and are wondering, oh my gosh, I have all these fears. How do you do this? What was your biggest fear as you took the leap and decided to launch your first Airbnb?
Well, we wanted to find the right house, and there's very few available that are the right ones. You have to look at a lot and figure out, is this the place, if we fix this place really nice, would they love to come here for their vacation? And so we weren't sure if we would get a lot of guests coming, and that was the fear. I mean, we thought it would, but once we got the home renovated and decorated and put on the market, and that first reservation comes in, you're like, all right. And then when you get the first review, you're like, all right. And then the next one and the next one and the next one, they're like saying, man, this is great.
Yeah.
On every one of our houses, it turned out to be a lot more than we thought it was going to be. We thought, okay, we'll get maybe a couple of reservations the first month and maybe 2 or 3 the next month. But no, it was like almost every day booked right from the start.
And into a town like Helen, you have
Yeah.
to compete with so many motels and so many Airbnbs because it's a small area. So we had to really think, what's special? Is this a good place to invest?
The demand is there if you're thoughtful in your launch, right?
Diane, did you have any different fears?
Well, I'll tell you, our age, we were going into retirement, and now we're like, well, do I want to do this? Do I want to invest my time at our age and our money? But we enjoy being busy. We enjoy so much of things that we're doing now, but I was concerned about the money, being a senior citizen. And
All right. So the concern about your income and financial situation, has
Yeah.
Airbnb, has it positively impacted your financial situation in retirement?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's working out really good.
And we just know it's going to get better. At first you're having to put a lot in, and I think we've got that behind us now. I think we're going to do very well. But you do have to take that step of faith. You do have to do that and take some risk.
But the income
Yeah.
is so much greater than on a long-term rental.
Yeah.
And the rewards are so much. Like Diane and I love dealing with the guests. And most guests we don't meet in person, but we meet some in person, and it's just always great. They are happy. They're on their vacation. They're there to have a good time. And everybody's been super nice.
I will say we started out as an investment, and I thought Airbnb's was a risk, but he wound up saying, I actually love hospitality. I didn't realize how much I love this. I was thinking it was all business, but it's hospitality and business. He loves the interaction with the people now, so it never gets boring.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
We do. And instead of sitting in your cube wondering, oh my gosh, am I going to get laid off this week or am I ever going to make the promotion? All of a sudden, you're in the driver's seat. You can decide how much you're going to lean into your property and add amenities and interact with your guests and potentially scale. We feel like the hospitality industry is so much fun because there is the creativity and interacting with guests and just sort of being in charge of your own adventure.
Yes.
Yeah, we agree 100%. I think if you want to be successful at it, if you're constantly thinking, well, how could we improve this? What could we do to make it better for the guests?
I like that idea that you're in the driver's seat, right? So unlike just running a spreadsheet and having a long-term multifamily or a long-term rental, you don't have that control. Once you're locked into a lease, there's not a lot that you can do. In the short-term rental space, there's a lot that we can do as hosts from a hospitality perspective, doing extra things for guests and continuing to make the properties better. I'm actually leaving this afternoon to go down to one of our properties to do some touch up, to bring some things down. We're in that driver's seat to make it better and create more revenue.
Yeah, I really appreciate your mindset as investors and hosts in hospitality. That's something that our listeners should pay attention to.
Absolutely.
All right. So how did you two get into Airbnb investing?
I had two businesses. One, I had to travel over in different states and different countries all the time. And that would take up about two-thirds of my year, and about a third of the year I would be at home with nothing to do. So I started buying houses and renovating them, and I ended up doing that a lot and keeping some of the nicer houses as rentals. But I became aware that I wasn't going to be able to keep doing my other job just because of my age. It's very physical. And so we had to figure out a way to replace our income. I was already involved in real estate a little bit. And I thought I'd wanted to do it for years since I very first heard of Airbnbs. And so we decided to give that a try.
Okay, so it sounds like from starting with renovation and flipping, basically, to rent and hold, to discovering this new model of short-term rentals and the cash flow that it could provide for you. That's
Yes.
pretty cool. So what was your initial goal then? To replace your income?
Yeah, to replace the income. And we were getting some income from the long-term rentals, but very little income. Luckily, they were really appreciating. You would get some great tenants, but then after a couple of years, you'd have a bad tenant move out, and you'd have to spend thousands renovating the house and redoing it and everything. And it'd wipe out all of the income you made for a while. And I said, we can't live off this. We got to have another approach that's going to be more consistent with income.
We totally get that. We had long-term rentals as well. And even if you have a good tenant, you still end up having to at least replace carpet or go back in and repaint. And if you have a bad tenant, and we've had those too, yeah, it just wipes out the profit that you're counting on.
Exactly.
And what I love about short-term rentals is if you have a bad tenant, they're gone in 3 days.
Yes.
Yeah, and they pay in advance.
Yeah, and even if they're just picky, not bad, they're gone in 2 to 3 days, and you can just move on to people who are delighted to be wherever you have your Airbnb.
Yeah, so we've been real happy with the decision.
And Robert, your properties are in Helen, Georgia, you said?
Yes, and Sawtee, which is right next to Helen.
And how did you pick that market?
Well, to start off with, we have relatives at Hilton Head. We looked there. I lived at St. Simon's Island on the Georgia coast at one time. We looked there. We went down to Florida and looked all up and down the coast there and looked at Orlando. And I started thinking, I don't think I could handle driving hours and hours back and forth to take care of this. And I looked on Amazon and I saw your book, Host Coach. I read it from cover to cover. And I thought, yeah, you're right on there. Find someplace close. Diane and I, we went on our
It's been
honeymoon
40 years.
to Helen.
It's a place in our heart.
We love it there. It's an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love it.
And,
So you invested in your honeymoon location.
Yeah, we have a lot of wonderful memories
We
too.
should do that.
she got a story for you. She just got a big thrill out of reading one of our reviews.
So our daughter is doing her first Airbnb, and the guest proposed to his fiance last night. We have a bridge by a little creek there, a little waterfall, and it goes down a path that's lit up, and it's very romantic looking, and you see the stars and all. And we just read that right before we got on this interview. It just touched us. We love our people. We love the gratification of flipping a home and turning it into something special. Our daughter's an artist, and she helped us with that. And we love the feedback. We started doing it because we love flipping the houses and getting gratification with that. But now we just love the interaction with the guests. Yeah. So.
And that just goes to show that thoughtful design can create an experience. And I think we throw that word creating an experience around. But for this guest, that experience was a proposal. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
guarantee he booked that place because he saw that bridge and was like, oh my goodness, what a perfect backdrop for an engagement. And hopefully he'll be back for anniversaries and stuff like that.
got a guest for life.
Okay, well, that's all positive and good. All right, my next question is, it sounds like you pretty much did everything perfect, but did you make any mistakes as new investors?
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear.
Our big mistake was not doing things fast enough. We bought our first house in April of 22, and this was a big house. Ended up doing a lot to it. It's our top performer now, but we didn't actually get that house on the Airbnb market until June of 25. So it took us 3 years working on it.
Goodness.
And that was a mistake. I would say to avoid that again, I would put a lot of work into finding a great contractor
Mm.
that you can trust and it'll get things done quickly. The quicker you can get it done and get it ready and get it on the market, the better.
Robert, would you
And
say
that,
it was scope creep in the project or just contractors that weren't moving
oh,
fast enough for you?
both. Because to start with, it was going to be about a third of what it ended up being. And as we went along, well, let's do this, and then let's do that, and let's do this. And we ended up doing a lot of things that turned out great. But if we had our vision firm to start with and had a good contractor, all of that could have been done in 6 months.
And I understand both sides of that because I live in the wonderful world of what if. I'm like, oh, what if we added a sauna? What if we put a bathtub in the top of the world? And there's a balance between, Cullen's like, we have to get this done yesterday. And I'm like, it needs to be perfect for guests. And so making a plan and
Yeah.
actually both signing it and sticking to it. And then knowing sometimes it's nice, like, okay, you know what? We can't do everything we want to in this timeline or in this budget. So in 6 months or a year, we'll use guest money to do the next round of renovations that we want.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
All right. So on the flip side, what was the
Mhm.
smartest thing you did on your Airbnb investing journey?
I think the smartest thing was getting a really good designer and concentrating on design, which that was our daughter, and taking the time to pick a good house that when you look at it, it wasn't perfect at all, but with a reasonable amount of work and money, it could be made into something really nice. The other thing is educating yourself about the business, studying the market, reading books, and just learning about the business. When I first started thinking about the Airbnb business, I was thinking, okay, we have some old pots and pans and we have old lamps. And I was thinking, oh, well, I'll save this because we can use that in the Airbnb. And we never used a single one of those things. We ended up getting all new stuff that's nice.
Yeah.
Don't even think about putting old, worn out stuff in your Airbnb.
Good point. So you,
Yeah.
what, 4 Airbnbs here in the last 3 years? How did you scale up?
We started out with the first one and we started getting contractors coming in. And then we kept looking around and we found the second one. What we did was sold the long-term rentals that we had, not really making a good income. We then did a 1031 exchange and bought the other houses.
Smart.
Okay, that's gold, guys.
For anyone that doesn't know what a 1031 exchange is, Colin, why don't you do a quick?
So yeah, if you're out there and you're sitting on a long-term rental and you're kind of concerned about selling it and having to pay capital gains and having to pay recapture depreciation, a 1031 exchange allows you to identify a new asset, sell the old asset, and move those funds from old to new without incurring those tax liabilities. So ask your CPA about a 1031 exchange or send me a note and I'll tell you who we use.
Yeah, it worked out really good.
So how do you make sure you're getting the most revenue possible out of all of your Airbnbs?
Well, you do a good job on all the basics, and then revenue management is a big part of that. You want to get as many 5-star reviews as possible, and you want to really be good with your hospitality, and you want to have good photos. I would say go out and stay in some Airbnbs yourself and watch the process of how you pick one. And the first thing you do is look at all the photos. And if the photos aren't appealing, you just keep going. Then the revenue management is the last step that fine-tunes the income you're going to make.
I've enjoyed doing that for you. I think that is gold advice there for people who are thinking about how do I get started. Go to Airbnb, start looking at some listings, go do a little traveling, right? We're all taking a vacation, grab a friend, grab your spouse, grab your partner, take a weekend somewhere and live the experience, right? Could you do this better? What do you like about this? I think you said experience the process. I think that's amazing advice for how to get started. Just get out and go stay in an Airbnb.
Yeah, we took the grandkids up to Gatlinburg. We looked at the house and we got some great ideas from it, but then there were some things we said, well, we don't like that, but we really like this and this. And you can get some good positive tips doing that, and you can see what you don't want to do, and it really helps. Plus, you have fun.
Okay. So a second step, go stay in your market, right?
Yeah.
Or go
Yes.
stay in a market that would be interested in investing in.
Something that
Yeah.
I'm not always as disciplined about, so listeners do better than me. Have a notebook or a Google Doc open and write down things you loved about the whole process of finding it. Oh, I liked the ones that had bright colors or beautiful views or whatever that might be. I loved how
Yeah.
they messaged, or I really hated not having the door code until an hour before I got there. All those little things you think you'll remember, but you might not. So if you write them down, it helps inform and fast track your success when you're ready to do your own Airbnb investment.
Yeah, I agree.
I call it a workcation. I love it when we go up there and piddle around with our Airbnbs and being in other Airbnbs and all. There's a lot of fun in that too. So we're mixing business with pleasure at the same time. I enjoyed all of our trips. Searching for the right place to be at was a lot of fun and exciting, anticipation of it. And we learned a lot in our Airbnbs from it.
Well, thank you guys. This has been amazing. We appreciate your time.
Listeners, get out there and take some workcations and find yourself an Airbnb.
So there you have it. You now know how Robert and Diane went from fixing flippers to investing in Airbnbs that have replaced their income and bring them joy as retirees. They shared exactly what it takes for you to be successful, from getting started the right way to maximizing your returns, so you can stop overthinking and start cash flowing. If you feel like you or someone you know could use some help on Airbnb investing or Airbnb revenue management, that's what we do. Head over to hostcoach.co to book a free 30-minute discovery call with us. And remember,
Our joy is in your success.